Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. That was some pumping music, man. I'm over here dancing and I'm doing like Instagram lives. And that was exciting. I like your intro music.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you're doing the dancing because that's not my thing. So, um, on this day, only one of us can make fool of ourselves, and obviously, you have volunteered.
Woo! I'll take it. I'll take it.
Hey guys, welcome. I'm really pleased to be able to chat with my really good friend Clinton Young.
Yeah.
A speaker extraordinaire. He coaches speakers and help them to become world-class speakers. So Clinton, thanks, man. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
It's my pleasure to be here, Devin. And you know what? You're so humble. You are the man, the myth, the legend, and I'm really honored to be here hanging out with you as well.
Okay, listen.
Thanks for having me.
Flatter will get to know where, my friend. You sound a little bit out of breath. Were you dancing?
You know what? I was, man. I'm telling you, I was jumping around. I was getting excited. You got some killer intro music.
It's all good. By the way, guys, today we're going to talk about how to become a better presenter. So, hey, feel free to chime in, ask questions, make comments, challenge us, make us smarter, because that's what you do when you ask questions and you make comments. But Clinton, both of us, we'll make a living on stage, man. They pay us to speak, to make presentations.
We're the crazy ones, right?
Yeah, because, and it's kind of interesting. I've always known that I have a screw missing. Because if you think about it, well, that's kind of an interesting point. More people are afraid of public speaking than they are of dying. Right. Yes. So I'm not sure if I'm the one with the screw that's missing or those other people. They'd rather lie in a casket rather than stand in front of the room.
Isn't that crazy? I saw this shirt at National Speakers Association, the annual event called Influence 2 years ago. And this t-shirt, it was amazing. It had a microphone on it and it said, "I make a living." Or it says, "Your greatest fear is how I make a living."
Yeah. It's
so true. It's absolutely true. It's crazy.
And so here, yeah, exactly. So here we are. We make a living, doing what most people fear. But the truth is that at some point in our lives, regardless of what we do, we are going to be asked to make a presentation. I think part of the challenge is that when people hear the word presentation, they think of this massive speech in front of 1,000 people. But no, it's getting up at work in a staff meeting, or giving a toast at a wedding or a birthday, or it could be a massive sales pitch. But sooner or later, we're going to have to make that presentation, right?
Absolutely, especially if you want to advance in your career. Anyone out there that is a leader in maybe corporate, being able to communicate effectively from quote unquote stage, from the boardroom, from wherever in an office, even if it's one-on-one, is going to elevate you above the rest of the people. And it's going to have you stand out as a leader.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about this thing called fear. Because people, as we just said, are more scared of speaking than they're of dying. Which boggles my mind. But how do we get past that, man? I know that there's no such thing as a person without fear. So, I'm sympathetic to their challenges. But, how do we deal with the fear?
Well, that's a great question. And, as you mentioned previously, or maybe you didn't, I'm not sure. But I do coach some people to become international, not international speakers, to become world-class speakers. And perhaps we'll talk about what I mean by that. I don't mean somebody that's going to speak all around the world necessarily, although I can, help people do that. I mean, how do we become effective, right? Which is what we're talking about today. For the average person that maybe they don't want to be a speaker, but they want to be able to speak, we have to deal with that fear. And one of the things I teach is if you were to walk down a path, Devin, and you see a bear, okay, you're going to have some fear, right? You're going to feel this sort of tingly feeling in your body, that fight or flight response.
I don't know if I would describe it as tingly, but yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's a physiological response going on in your body. right?
Yeah.
It's like ants running underneath your skin. Right?
Mhm.
And I'm a little bit of a psychology geek, just to preface this. I have a psych bachelor's degree, organizational psychology master's degree, and I've been geeking out on neuroscience and the human condition for like the last 15 years. So I'm not the foremost expert, but I know more than the average person. And I will regularly weave stuff in around psychology because it's just what I geek out on. So let's talk about that really quick. So this fear, when you're walking down a path and you see a bear, you get that feeling. Okay. Now put that aside. Let's say you make it through that. All right. You make it through that and you're now up in a plane and you have a parachute on and you've got somebody strapped to you and you're excited and you're ready to jump out of this plane. You're going to feel the same exact physiological response, the same tingly feeling going through your body, those ants running under your skin, if you will, that fight or flight response. You're going to feel the same exact physiological feelings, but you're going to call them something different. You're going to give a different definition to that feeling. You're going to call one of them fear, and you're going to assign it to danger. And it's very real with a bear. It's danger. There's danger there. And not that there's not danger in jumping out of a plane, but it's that fear, but you're assigning it the definition of excitement, right? Same exact physiological feeling. You will feel the same thing in your body, but you'll call it something different. And therefore, that is what is going to make it so disempowering, and it will stop you from taking action. So that's what I teach people. And you could take that, like when you're getting up to stand up in front of your team, or if you're a business owner and maybe you have to talk to your team or your organization, just assign a different meaning. Right. And one of the things I'll leave it on at this, one of the things I say before I go on stage, Devin, and I do this to try to shift my awareness from myself and my concern for myself, or, oh, I'm going to look bad, or I'm going to say the wrong thing, or I'm going to not be able to impact this audience. I get out of my head and I drop down into my heart. And we can all do this. And I do it by saying one simple thing. I say, I'm about to do something of significance. I'm about to do something of significance, because I believe that every time we have the opportunity to either get on stage or get on a video or even have a one-on-one conversation or a 1 to 1,000 person conversation, it's an opportunity. It's an honor, right? It's a responsibility as a leader, as a speaker, to be able to impact that person and speak to their heart. And I find that I can't speak to their heart if I'm up here in my head. Yeah. So when I say that I'm about to do something of significance, it drops me into my heart. And now I'm in the audience thinking, all right, how can I speak to the pain, the collective pain in that room, so that they know that I understand what they're going through? And that's how I'm able to reach their heart. So we all feel this fear. I still feel it. And I've been on hundreds and hundreds of stages. We just learned to assign a different meaning to it.
Well, you said quite a few things that are worth unpacking there.
Okay.
So yeah, I have not come across a bear on a path. And I have no intention of, unless it's a teddy bear. But I have jumped from a plane, though. I totally have a screw missing. And I have to admit, I did not assign the idea of excitement to that experience. I was scared to death. and that's one of the things, though, that whether you are stepping on what I'm going to call a speaking stage, whether it's in the boardroom or in front of 1,000 people, or at your daughter's wedding, or whatever the case is, or quite frankly, you're stepping on the stage of life. Because every time we step out to do something, we're either going to have something new. There's either going to be that tingling feeling of excitement or fear attached to it. And when it's excitement, we run towards it. We want to do it. When it's fear, that's the thing that holds us back. Or has a potential to hold us back. And I say that because the truly successful people are afraid all the time. They feel fear all the time, but they step into it. They feel fear to death, like me sitting on the floor of an airplane at 2,500 feet about to jump.
Right.
It wasn't excitement, but I did it anyway. Like me, standing at the top of a bobsled runabout to push. I'm scared to death, but I do it anyway.
Right.
The top salesperson about to walk into the boardroom to give that sales presentation of his or her life, scared to death, he does it anyway. A guy, when you are proposing to the girl, scared to death,
Do it anyway,
right? So, I mean, I say all of that to say there are so many ways in our lives in which we are called on to make a presentation, and they oftentimes accompanied by fear. And the people who are able to get through on the other side, one, I agree with you that you kind of look to see how you're going to make an impact. You're going to do something significant, right? So you drop down in your heart, and that helps you to deal with the fear. I think there is also this idea of belief, though. How do you see that playing a role in us becoming better presenters?
Yeah, so I'm going to speak to the fear thing one more time, because you talked about stepping into that fear, right? And that's why I love the word courage. Right? I love the word courage because it's acting in spite of fear, right? It's courageous.
Yep.
Like we act in spite of fear. The fear is going to be there most likely, no matter what, unless you absolutely have a piece of your brain missing, right? We're going to experience that. It's normal. But stepping into that fear and having the courage to do that, that's where the magic happens, right? That's where the power is.
And if I could add to that, because a lot of times when people hear the word courage, they conjure up images of a soldier in a firefight, or I don't know, a lifeguard saving someone from a swelling ocean, or some physical courage. And of course, that is courage. But those are all portraits of courage. But courage is also displayed by the kid who would stand up to a schoolyard bully, or you deciding to have that tough conversation with somebody else, or all of those things. Every one of those scenarios involve fear, and the courage is you taking action although you're scared to death. And I know it would be nice if we felt courageous before and there was no thing called fear. No, you're going to have fear. And the courage is you going, you know what, I'm going to do, I'm scared to death, but I'm doing it anyway. Let's see how this works out. So absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of courage and then stepping into what you shared, or you brought up the point of belief. Let's talk about that real quick. So there's this woman that did a TED Talk, and she's famous all around the world now for her talk around something she calls the 5-second rule. I believe her name is Mel Robbins. She's amazing. And the 5-second rule states that, and the fellas out there, that doesn't mean food drops on the floor and you got to pick it up in 5 seconds or 3 seconds, right? That's not what we're talking about. When you have an inspired thought, all right, how many of you out there, think about this. I know there's a lot of people watching this on recording, and there's several people watching it right now live. How many of you have had the experience where you had an inspired thought and you even had the vision of it? You're like, wow, I got this. I can do this. And then you pause and you don't take action. What generally happens, Mel says this, and I believe her and I agree, is that our brain goes to work. If you don't act within 5 seconds, take literally 1, 2, 3, 4, take action before 5, because if you don't, your brain will go to work to annihilate that idea and actually then make you think that you made the right choice. Like, wow, it's a really good thing I didn't make that choice, because, and it'll have all these reasons why making that choice to not take action was the right choice. When really, deep down inside, the right choice was to take action. So the 5-second rule is really powerful. It's a really simple thing to do. If you have an inspired idea to raise your hand in class or in your company to say something, do it. And do it within 5 seconds, or it most likely is not going to happen.
I agree. Because, when we were younger in the game, if you snooze, you lose, right? And it's true in life. And if you snooze, you lose. If that 6 second freezes you, and you go, oh my God, what was I thinking? And you miss out because what you have essentially done is allowed fear as opposed to belief to take
Yeah.
to take over, right? And look, you believe, and we're not saying there's no guarantee. There's absolutely no guarantee that you're going to succeed, but we know that if you don't take action, we can almost guarantee that you're going to fail.
Yeah.
So failure, man, part of life, part of the whole speaking game. How do we deal with that?
Well,
I know that you haven't failed on stage, but for mere mortals like myself,
please, I have some funny stories about failing on stage. I used to lead a very large sales team back in the day, Devin, and I used to tell them something that would kind of make them stop and think. And you might stop and think when you hear this as well. I'd say, as it relates to failure, I'd say fail fast and fail often.
Mm-hmm.
Fail fast and fail often. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is,
nobody wants to hear that, by the way.
I know you don't, but guess what? Failure is your friend. Failure is your friend. We're all going to experience failure, right? So let me give you an example of this. So I'd have a team and I'd say, all right, you have 300 calls to make. You could take 6 months to make these 300 calls, or you could make these 300 calls in 3 days. You choose. Right. You're going to experience the same amount of failure. The same exact rejection lines are going to get said back to you if you're in sales. Same exact things are going to happen. You're going to experience them all. However, when you experience them in 3 days, you're going to have such a short feedback loop, right? And you're going to learn so much more, so much faster. And you're going to experience that pain of failure for only 3 days. Versus 6 months. So fail fast and fail often, which means take massive action right now. You're going to experience all that same level and experience of failure, but you're going to fly through it, and you're going to fail much smaller when you do fail because it's only inside of 3 days.
Exactly, and you learn the lessons quicker in 3 days as opposed to 6 months. Right now, you're able to build on it, and that's the thing where. Look, I don't think there's any speaker at whatever level, whether you're a world-class international speaker jetting around the world and presenting to thousands and thousands of people, or the one guy with a girl who got told no. Right? But you have that. Oh, where's the camera? Right. You have that, right? We're all gonna fail at some stage of the game. And I just think I always see failure as a learning opportunity. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to die, unless you did something stupid like jumping out of a plane without a parachute.
Right.
Sometimes accidents happen. But look, seriously, you're not going to die. The failure isn't going to kill you. Failure isn't fatal. It really is an opportunity for you to learn. And so you can choose, as you tell your salespeople, you can choose to learn in 3 days, or 3 weeks, or you can choose to learn in 3 weeks, 3 months, or 3 years, right? Same action, stretch over a longer, so you can create a steeper learning curve and get over this thing so you can get to the next level and become, really successful, or you can just kind of drag it out and be mediocre all your life, right? You get
to choose. Yeah, 100%.
All the time. So, bro, let's talk about some specifics in terms of how people can become better presenters, no matter where it is that they're presenting. And I have some P's I want to throw out to you. And the first one would be preparation. Let's talk about that for a minute.
So preparation. Yeah, I mean, before a speech, I'm huge on repetitions. Right. I believe that you're a world-class athlete. You are a former Olympian, right? Multi-time Olympian, I believe. Whether you did it once or more than once doesn't matter. You made it to the Olympics. That's
what they said in Wikipedia. I think on Wikipedia they said I went 3 times. So
3 times. Look at this guy. Now he's showing off.
No, I'm not repeating what's on Wikipedia, man.
I can't believe I'm talking to one of the original guys from the Jamaican bobsled team. That is just so cool. It's so cool, man. All right, so I'm having star shock right now, whatever they call it. So let me bring it back to reality. So you asked me about preparation, and what I teach is anybody who's world class at anything. And again, what I mean by world class is the ability to be 1000% effective at speaking to the hearts and souls of the people in the audience, whether that's one person or 1,000 people, and really identifying what that thing is in ourselves that is blocking us and stopping us from being able to speak directly to their hearts. So I'm huge on repetition, and here's why. I believe that the only thing that sets you, Devin Harris, apart from, let's say you had a twin brother back in the day when you went to the Olympics, and your twin brother had the same exact physical features, right? Everything was the same, but he didn't have the level of awareness that you have around sports, around discipline, around all the experiences you had that led you up to becoming an Olympic athlete and actually pushing that sled down for the first time in the Olympics. I believe that the basic building block of becoming Olympic or world class, the only difference that sets you apart from your fictitious twin that I just made up is your level of awareness and your depth of awareness around yourself, around your strengths, around your sport, around the mountain, around snow, around the sled, around every single element. You just have a deepened level of awareness. And we can accelerate our awareness as speakers and as leaders. And specifically, we're talking about as speakers today, obviously. We can do that one of the ways by repetition. So literally, it's not sexy. It's not sexy, but it's the key to success. How many times did you go down that mountain? How many times did you go down that dang mountain before you actually made it to the Olympics? How many times did you run and do your drills? Millions of times, right? So like repetition.
Repetition, yeah. Well, maybe not in terms of bobsledding. We didn't have all that much practice, and we saw what the result is.
Yeah. Right? Well, you practiced simulation, right, of something else. You didn't have snow, maybe.
But I agree with you. There is I mean, beyond just going down the mountain, there was just like years and years of in terms of actual time and hours that we put into honing and developing our athletic skills. Yeah. So that we could apply, when I talk about keep on pushing, part of that philosophy is how you use all the stuff that and the experience and the skills that you have developed in one area of your life to how do you apply it to this new area? Because if you're growing, you're always going to find these new areas. How are you going to apply that so you can grow, right? And so the repetition, yes, the practice, as it were, the preparation is key. A lot of people seem to think that you just kind of, I smile all the time actually when I say to people, "Yeah, I'm a speaker." And how did you get into that? I want to do that too. And they just think that you just get up and you go on stage and you just are blabbering. No,
doesn't work that way.
No, you have to do some. Maybe it's a subject that you're not, totally familiar with. You got to do some research on that thing, right? Yeah. You have to organize your thoughts, and then you have to practice what you've put together, right? That you don't necessarily have to memorize it, but you need to practice. So when I was in the military, when I was at Sandhurst, the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst in England, they taught us the 7 Ps. Prior, preparation, and planning prevents piss poor performance.
Love it.
And, so as we spoke earlier, for example, about belief, right? And all of us have this, Clinton, where we're about to go do something and these limiting beliefs will like pop into our mind. Like, you're going to go on stage and you go, "Oh my God, what if I forget what I'm supposed to do?" Or I'm standing at the start and, "Oh my God, what if I crash?" I've had those thoughts. And I always come back to the practice, the repetition, the preparation. If I know that I've prepared, I've gone on the track tons of time, I've rehearsed and practiced my speech tons of time. So now you just have to trust yourself. Yeah. That your training and your preparation will come into play. Isn't that how you see it? Is that how you see it for giving a presentation as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the most brilliant men of all time, and I can't remember his name right now, unfortunately, you might know it. He's like a Socrates type person. I think he was his mentor.
For a minute, I thought you were talking about me, but
you as well, Devin Harris. But he says this, he says, He says, oh man, I just had it in my head too. It's such a good quote. He says that we are what we repeatedly do.
Yeah,
we are what we repeatedly do. Success or excellence, therefore, is not an act. It's not a singular act, but it's a habit.
Absolutely.
But a habit, right?
Yeah, good. Yeah, Leon, Stafford, thank you guys for chiming in. Feel free to ask any questions you might have. Appreciate you being here. So yeah, it comes down to that, man. The preparation is key. And then there is, the purpose. What is a presentation about? Because again, if you can get it out of your head that a presentation is this big State of the Union address,
right,
that you're giving, as opposed to oh yeah, it's my daughter's 16th birthday, she's 16, and I just want to say a couple of words. That's a presentation, right? And so to be better, or you're having a staff meeting and the boss, the supervisor, is going to ask you to, report on a particular project.
Yeah,
you prepare, right? And you're preparing because you know what the purpose of that presentation, whether it's a 1-minute presentation, 10 or 15-minute presentation, you prepare, and you have to keep the other P, the purpose, in mind, right?
I got a good one for you on this one. Okay, you ready for me to unload?
Go, boy.
You ready? All right, here we go. So, all right. So purpose, right? I heard this said one time that who you're being is speaking so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying. I'm going to say that again. Who you're being is speaking so loudly, I can't hear the words coming out of your mouth, like Chris Tucker, right? So what they mean by that, and how this relates to purpose, is I'm going to teach a very, very simple speech formula right now. And it really comes down to the word purpose, but I use also the word intention, right? If we just set an intention up front, what is our intention? What are we intending for in this conversation? And it's so hard when we're going on stage to go up into our head, because we prepare and we start to write things out very linearly in a lot of cases, almost like you're writing a book, because you get in this flow and you're like, oh, I want to say this, and then I want to say this, and then I want to say this. Before you know it, you have all this stuff to memorize. And where do you end up spending your whole entire speech? Up in your head.
Yeah.
But if we just set an intention, and it's going to take a little bit of trust. And in the beginning, sometimes we do have to write things out and get comfortable and do the reps until you get so comfortable saying what you're going to say that you can drop out of your head and into your heart. But if you literally just set an intention and just trust that you will know what there is to say, I'm not going to say to do this in a 45-minute paid $10,000 keynote, right? Necessarily.
No.
But in a conversation, especially with a loved one or a teammate or a boss, you can think it out a little bit, maybe have a couple bullets of what you want to have as an outcome, which is the second part of my simple speech formula, outcome. So it's intention first. That's the most important thing, because when you have a clear intention, you will naturally, if you settle down and you breathe and you just focus on your intention and go in and serve that intention, you will say all the right things because they're all going to line up to that intention. We oftentimes don't give ourselves enough credit for what we naturally already know to say. We only get stuck when we get up in our head and we're like, what was I going to say? And we start to short circuit. And that's when we don't connect with the other person, because we're not speaking from our heart. We're not actually speaking from our intention. We're up here in our head. So simple speech formula is, what's your intention? And then what's your outcome? And if you really are doing a speech now, then you're going to come up with, all right, what's the main point I want to deliver in that speech that lines up with the outcome and it lines up with the intention? And then what's a story I can tell that really illustrates that? That's like a really, really simple speech formula for a 15-minute speech right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the fact of the matter is that, we're always giving speeches or making presentations, or, I call them conversations. And so
Yeah, that's great.
When I'm speaking, or coaching, encouraging someone who's getting started in the speaking game, I'm like, hey, it's not a speech, it's a conversation.
Yes.
You're speaking at the wedding. Yeah, you're just having a conversation with this one person, and all these other people are listening in. Because how many times have you been in public chatting with your friend, and everybody else in the room is hearing what you're saying, right?
Totally. It's a speech, right? No, it's a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, which one comes first, the chicken or the egg, the speech or the conversation? Right? And so if you learn to relate your presentation to a conversation, think about some of the things that happen in that conversation with your friend. Just kind of like what you're saying, you have an outcome, you tell a story to illustrate a point.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you mentioned the word stuck, and it kind of brought me to my next P, pause.
Yes.
Because sometimes when we are having a conversation, two buddies drinking a beer, two girls having an ice cream. Sorry, ladies, stereotypical, I know, terrible. But you'll be making a point, and you go, what was that point I wanted to make again? And there's no pressure. It just feels natural, and you just kind of catch your breath, and you go, oh yeah, or I'll come back to it. I can't remember what it is now.
Yeah.
Some people see that as a kiss of death when they're on stage, whether it's in front of 1,000 people or 10 people. And the pause is one of the most powerful things you could ever do, right?
I got a juicy one for you here, Devin. So one of my first keynote speeches ever. All right. I'm on stage, and I was in that stage of really, I call it the third level of learning, of conscious competence, where I was competent, but I had to really think about what it was I was trying to say next. And I totally forgot where I was in my speech. So I highly recommend, do not memorize your speech. That's my teaching to you. Do not memorize your speech. That's my thinking, my belief. And but I did this time, and I totally forgot where I was, but I just settled in, and I just looked at everyone, and I really spent a moment, and I looked at several people right in the eyes, and it was almost, it was a pregnant pause. It was almost to the level of uncomfortability. I was certainly uncomfortable, but I was just playing it cool. And then I remembered right where I was, and then I kept going. And this guy came up to me. His name is Bobby. He came up to me at the end. He looks right at me, and he's got tears in his eyes. And he says, Clinton, I now know why I moved all the way across the country and took this job. It was to hear your speech today. And he says, the most powerful part of your entire speech was when you just paused and you just kind of was being with us, with each one of us for a moment.
Yeah.
It's like, I was so moved in that moment. And right there, I was kind of like laughing inside. I was moved because he's like crying. He's like moved.
Yeah.
He was talking about his life. But I was at the same time kind of giggling in the back of my head, like, oh my goodness, he has no idea that I totally had no idea where I was. And that was the day, Devin, that I really I call it the magic of the pause. And at the end, I'm going to give away my top 7 world-class speaker principles. And I go into this in a lot more detail on one of them. But man, the pause in the beginning as a speaker, it can be a crutch, right? Use it as a crutch because it is powerful to pause and be with people. But when you become a world-class speaker, it's actually things that you want to implement into your speech. You want to have those pauses, and there's too much to talk about here. We could talk all day on this and why and how to use those. But man, you're so right. The magic of the pause, it's powerful.
It is powerful because one of the things that I agree, there's a ton that we could unpack here. But, one of the things that the pause does is that it allows the audience to digest what you're saying.
Yes.
Right. And it makes you look so competent and confident. Like, he's got his stuff together.
Yeah.
Only little do they know that you're teetering on the edge of failure, right? Oh my God,
Yeah.
oh my God. You're
But
like
you have the courage to keep going, right? You have the courage.
you're like a swan on the water, looking, gliding, and underneath you going, oh my God, what can I do, right?
I
But
love
yeah,
that. I love that.
but the fact is that we do it in our one-on-one conversations all the time.
Yeah, we do.
So
Mhm.
apply that to your presentation. Stafford is asking if there are any special topics that we speak about, or we general depending on the request. You go first. You're the guest.
So my speech is called Reigniting Your Human Spirit. And I deliver this speech all around the world at companies, at entrepreneur groups, universities. And really, it really stems around awareness, the power of awareness. And it stems around, how do you overcome limiting beliefs? How do you overcome failure, fear, and doubt, and enable confidence and courage to live your dream life now? So that's my primary keynote speech. But, I speak on, you can wrap that around leadership, you can wrap that around team building, but ultimately at the core, and I teach speakers, or really I teach more conscious entrepreneurs or purpose-driven entrepreneurs who have a message and they want to make a big difference in the world. But no matter who I'm teaching or what I'm talking about, it all comes back to awareness, limiting beliefs. How do we overcome that? What about you, Devin?
Yeah, awesome.
You speak all around the world as well.
I kind of encapsulate my life story, my life journey, and those experiences in the simple phrase, keep on pushing. And because I'm a bobsledder, I'm not that creative, but that's kind of what we do.
Brilliant branding.
But there's so much analogy to the process of pushing the sled and going down the track to the success journey of life. And so I'm able to know, you asked if it's on request, because I zone in on that stuff because I spend a lot of time customizing my presentation based on, I'm going to talk about people next, right?
Yeah.
Based on the people, based on the audience, so it could be simply around the idea of pursuing your dreams or overcoming obstacles or teamwork or leadership or diversity. All of those life experiences are those things that I've experienced throughout my journey that I can then now share those wisdom and insights with people.
Yeah. And you work a lot with sales teams, right? To really help them overcome challenges and stagnation and really explode their growth, right?
Exactly.
Awesome.
I obviously, I work with audiences across the board, but I've been doing a lot of work with sales teams, especially recently, during this kind of COVID times of uncertainty. So
sure,
looking forward to continue to share in that way. So you know what? You can't have a presentation without people, can you? And if you're standing there talking, quite frankly, even if you're talking to the guy or the girl in the mirror, you have an audience of one, right?
Yeah.
How important is it to connect and to always have the people in mind?
Oh my goodness. I mean, if you're not doing that, you might as well just be a talking head, in my opinion. Like everything I've said so far today has really been about speaking from the heart to the heart. And I'm not trying to get all gushy or touchy feely. I'm a student of the game, and I'm a student of human behavior, and I'm a student of influence and impact. And I just know that in order to reach someone's mind, you have to reach their heart first, right? You might not call it the heart, but ultimately, some of the things you can do as a speaker or as a leader that's going to deliver a speech is make sure that you actually understand what is I like to call it the collective pain of the audience. And sometimes you have to make assumptions of what you think that might be and wrap it around what solution you can provide to that pain. But a lot of times when you have a planned speaking opportunity, you can ask a lot of questions. And I highly encourage ask a ton of questions. I have a whole pre-speech interview. I'm sure you do as well, right? And you want to find out what is, and you might not call it this to them. What's the collective pain in your audience?
Right.
I'm just telling you to get a good idea of there's a pain in that audience, right? give you an example. I delivered a speech at an employee appreciation day a few years ago here in San Diego. And I found out that the collective pain in the room was they felt like they were overworked and underpaid, and it was pervasive, right? So I found ways to weave that into my speech early on, partly as a real serious, hey, I'm here to help you overcome type thing. And then partly also as little jokes here and there,
Right.
so that they could kind of know that I could relate to them. And as soon as your audience knows that you understand their pain, they want to hear what you have to say. Because if you can articulate their pain better than they can, they automatically assume you have a solution for that. So you've got their attention. So the people, so important. It's the number one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, getting their attention. I love that term because it's paramount or tantamount to you giving a effective, successful presentation at whatever level. If you just get in the room and you start talking without connecting with the people, right? You spoke earlier about speaking from the heart to the heart, and I often speak about how important it is to be authentic.
Yes.
Right? And authenticity really means speaking from the heart.
Totally.
Not the head, not BSing people, because people can tell when you are BSing versus you're speaking from the heart. And if you're speaking from your heart, guess what? You're connecting to their heart. And now because the whole point of making the presentation is to get your point across.
Yes.
I mean, if you're serious about it, right? Some of us get up and we talk just because we want to let out some air. But if we really want to be getting a point across, it's about bearing in mind who are taking into consideration who the people are, and then speaking from your heart to their heart. And you go away looking like a hero in their eyes, and they feel so blessed. The word you used earlier was you would have felt, and they would have felt like you did something significant.
Yes. And you inspire action, right? You inspire action, whether it's a new thought, a new belief, a new actual tangible action, new way of being, right? Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us, my man, because I know you offer some amazing training. Don't tell us all, but give us a little taste of them 7 secrets that you have.
All right.
We won't tell anybody else. It's just our secret.
Okay. So I already shared one, but I'm going to give all of them. Would you like me to share that now, how people can get access to them? Okay. So these are the top 7 secrets that I have discovered through thousands of hours on stages like yourself. And then also from hiring some of the best speakers on the planet, literally investing over $250,000 to work with mentors and coaches over the last 15 or so years. And I've distilled down what I believe are the top 7 world-class speaking secrets. And these are like principles. These are the principles that when you apply these, you will have a dramatic difference, a dramatic experience of a difference in your level of impact and connection with an audience. And you'll see it in the audience as well. That's where you're going to notice it first. And literally, Devin put it up on the screen now. You can get them at worldclassspeakersecrets.com. I literally invested over $5,000 in just one of these. And I've not talked about that one today. Literally $5,000 for one of these. And I give 7, plus I have a bonus 8th in there as well. And you can get all of those for free at worldclassspeakersecrets.com.
All right. So, if you really want to become a better presenter, and again, although Clinton is really, talking for the most part to people who want to become world-class speakers, i.e. be really effective, be really high level at making presentation, not necessarily jetting around the world, although that could be part of it if that's what you desire. Know that these secrets apply even if you're just giving a 10-minute talk at the sales meeting.
100%.
Meeting.
100%. Right? Yep.
Because it's really important, even if you have no desire to be like he and I and do the thing that people fear the most. As he opened up saying earlier, if you hope to progress in your job, your profession, whatever it is, however you describe that, yeah, sooner or later you're going to have to be making some presentations. And the better you are at that, the more effective and more competent you will seem. So thank you for sharing those with us. And guys, whether you're watching live or you are going to be watching the recording, make sure you take advantage of these 7 plus the bonus secrets to world-class speaking. Thanks again.
Thank you, Devin.
For sharing them with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, man. So thank you for spending time with us as well. And guys, we're looking forward to, if you like this, leave a comment, share it with your friends. Make sure that you visit ClintonYoung.com. That's the man. CY, man. ClintonYoung.com. And of course, worldclassspeakers.com as well. And yeah, feel free to stop by my website as well, devonharris.com. I should have shared. Guess what?
Look at that guy.
Look at that, man. Yeah, look at that guy in the front there. If you jump over to devonharris.com and use the discount code LIVE, LIVE, you get a 20% discount. Just because.
Nice. Keep on pushing the book. Love it.
Pushing, baby. All right. So, hey, until we connect with you next time, that's exactly what we want you to do.
Yes.
Keep on pushing.